days, shutting it down, searching everybody, video on the news. And Homeland Security said, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing it. And now all over the country, we showed you this last hour, they're putting up signs everywhere in front of propane tanks that say, Homeland Security, you now can't park here at this 7-Eleven or this grocery store. You know, you pull up at the grocery store or the 7-Eleven, they got the propane tanks. It's saying Homeland Security says can't park here. It's like federal zoning. It's a federal power grab outside of their jurisdiction. And yesterday they had all these fake scares with fake pipe bombs everywhere that they blow up to get rid of the evidence. And so many times it comes out it's staged, part of a drill. I have caught the state police with Homeland Security before it was even called Homeland Security via FEMA, staging fake nuclear spills and telling people they were real. In 98, 99, 2000, this is their program to smokescreen their federal takeover ahead of the admissions that were going into a full collapse. We have the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act admitting plans for forced inoculations nationwide. In the film Enemy of the State that we sell at Infowars.com, they have interviews with the law enforcement people who were trained to take you forcibly to a sports stadium and inoculate you. But this is all admitted. It's one thing to have the documents that are public, but another thing to have the people that were trained for it. They're training the military, and every time they have a crisis, they use it as an excuse to confiscate guns. I had the Army colonel on, that's also in Police State 4 last year, who openly admitted in Arcadia, Iowa, they went and asked the local gun dealer to play the part of a right-winger who wouldn't turn his guns in, and they got the citizens in the town of 600 to allow door-to-door gun confiscation drills, where the police came in and simulated taking their guns with the military. And there's hundreds and hundreds of other cases. I've made 4 police state films, just replete with footage of it, much of which I shot. Footage where Marines walk up in the middle of Hebron, Maryland, a small Mayberry town, and say, turn your camera off, you're not going to videotape this, because they were going in houses to do simulated gun confiscations, and they do the drills and say it's for America. I was there in 99 in Operation Urban Warrior with 2,000 Marines, thousands of other foreign troops, Dutch, German, British, Australian, Israeli, French, at the local university with role players from the university screaming, I'm an American, please no, not the camp, with the military admitting to me in interviews, the Marines, the Marine colonel, that this was for America. Then I went home to the hotel that night, turned on CNN who'd been there, and they said training for Macedonia. I mean, this is incredible. They are doing this everywhere. Oh, man. When they enroll people in Fallujah, Iraq, or in Bagram, Afghanistan, on record, it's MIT, government-designed face scanning. They stop everybody at checkpoints, get their names, put them into it, take the men in for a week or so, interrogate them in a FEMA camp, turn them loose. And I've got Tom Brokaw on video. It was his last week on air. I've got him on VHS. I played it here. I've got it somewhere around the office, where he said in Iraq, outside Fallujah, if you're caught without your biometric ID card, once you've been put in this, you are killed on the spot. And they're now bringing those troops back here to be police officers who, okay, you don't have your ID? Take them over here to a ditch. And they shoot them and put them in a ditch. I remember Private Bruckheimer in Ithaca News in Afghanistan. He came back and he said, yeah, you know, we took out the terrorists. We'd go into entire villages and kill men, women, and children, including babies. And then Fox News responded with an Army general saying, well, let's be clear. Only in certain villages do we kill everyone. They don't even deny it. I mean, they have forged an army of Satan. And if we don't admit that our military's been taken over, am I saying the German people were inherently bad? Am I saying the German Weimar Republic was completely evil? No. They were taken over and turned into agents of evil. And that's why the Germans went ahead and followed orders. Well, I can't say no to the military. I got to support the troops. This is what happens in a tyranny. And the good news is we've reached out to the military and police. They're really waking up, but we need to have them wake up even faster. And here it is. I have the Daily Mail, the Examiner, and other reports confirming that they are being held at the Army base. My crew has been held at an Army base in Pittsburgh. Under FEMA, for no reason. It's all on footage. We even sent the footage to lawyers that are part of a class action suit. Dude's footage is key. dude's up on a hillside showing the troops come in, the National Guard and the police, to the university. Everyone followed orders, basically, and would not be on the streets at night. They were told, don't be on the streets. You're not allowed to be. So they said, where can we find people that will be out at night so we can, get some training on citizens, get our dogs a taste of American blood? And they said, well, let's go on over to the university. And so there's the park. The university people are out there, eating pizza and listening to music by the hundreds. There's dorms all around it. The military even went into dorms arresting people. It was like Planet of the Apes, that scene where Heston and folks are, running away from the apes with the primitive humans being hit over the head and grabbed in nets. I mean, that's the footage. And then they march up the hill to do, and they're just looking at him with pure hate. And they're like, who are you? Well, I'm media. Where's your ID? You don't have a pass to be part of the G20. G20 is like 5 miles away. And Deuce says, well, no, I'm just here. And they said, put your camera on the ground. They put him in handcuffs, put everybody else in handcuffs, take him to a military base. And he said those police and military were just pure hate. And just like, they would take people and take them to the porta potty inside the base and then look at them and laugh at their genitals. I mean, it was just like 1 inch away from full-bore concentration camp. And then we get the model States Emergency Powers Act. We get the FEMA public plans. We get the Emergency Centers Act. And it's everything that we'd reverse engineered from all the other operations we've covered. How they're going to build these giant centers outside every major city, and they've already got them in place. 12 years ago, they had the old airport. That's in Police State 2, the takeover, where the local news admits, yes, it's used to hold citizens during civil unrest, where they chain you down to the floor. Pier 57 during the 2004 Republican convention. I've gotten all this on tape. Taking peaceful people there. No Miranda, no nothing, chaining them down. And how they're going to introduce this to society through the threat fusion centers that are the spy federal command bases for the roundups. Then we put all this in an hour special. It gets top ratings on True TV. And Homeland Security, ADL, and Congressman Cohen, behind the scenes, start demanding it be taken off the air. It's pulled off the air. Now they're pulling more of it off the air. Now they're remote erasing it off DVRs in your house. That's confirmed. And what does Cohen say? He's out there calling Republicans Nazis and saying that anybody who criticizes government caused the shooting when it's admitted it was nothing but mental illness and the guy was anything, a liberal. That's what all his friends and everybody said. That doesn't blame Democrats. And this is the guy right here, instrumental in getting that pulled off TV. This guy would love to live in China. Here he is with Anderson, CIA, Cooper. Here it is.
Cohen, how can you think that it's appropriate for a member of Congress on the floor of the House to compare the statements made by Republicans about health care to lies about Jews told by Joseph Goebbels and other Nazis? How is that appropriate?
Well, appropriate because it was the same process. Obviously, I don't think Republicans are Nazis, but they used the same means that Goebbels used, which was to have a short, concise idea and repeat it over and over and over again.
But you're essentially comparing them to Nazis.
No, I don't think I was, and I certainly didn't intend to. And when you do a open session like that on the floor, you speak off the cuff. But no, Goebbels was the master of political propaganda. And as evil a man as he was the master of this. And when people use it and use lies over and over and over again, whether it's killing grandma, whether it's government health takeover of health care or any of those things, somebody has to stand up and say, hey, wait a minute,
but
lie.
If you weren't trying to compare them to Nazis, you wouldn't have mentioned Nazis. I mean, you said their statements on health care are the same kind of lies that Nazis told. I didn't
say Nazis. I said
you said Goebbels. He's the chief propagandist for the Nazi party, and you said the Germans told lies about the Jews, and that led to the Holocaust. You're saying they're doing the same kind of thing that the Nazis did. That's comparing them.
Well, I didn't intend to do that. I didn't think I did. He is the master political propagandist. And if he wrote treatises on it, he had rules. He is the major person. If you want to talk about political propaganda, the person you talk about who mastered it in terms of the big lie was Goebbels.
So you're standing by this. You don't think it's inappropriate in any way?
Well, I think as far as a lie goes, and I've been writing about lies in the political spectrum for the last 2 months. There was a show that said that the government was creating concentration camps and planned to have a pandemic against its citizens. This was something on True TV.
Yeah, that's Jesse Ventura's ridiculous conspiracy show, which is just a joke. But I mean,
it's not a joke. I wrote an op-ed about it. That's the kind of stuff that produces Oklahoma City's produced 2 deputy sheriffs being killed in West Memphis.
But Democrats have been very critical when people on the right use Nazi imagery to describe President Obama or Democrats. I just don't understand why you think it's okay to bring in Nazis when you're talking about Republicans.
I think that when it's an appropriate analogy, and if you wanted to talk about some monster scientist, and you mentioned Mengele, it would be appropriate because he was the monster scientist of the last 100 years or maybe of all time. Just as
yeah, and Mr. Steve Cohen, Congressman, it's now even come out in the New York Times, what we knew decades ago, that our government took tens of thousands of top Nazis, including Mengele, and protected them. Oh, but you don't want to talk about that. You want to take a show like Ventura's and imply, or no, he didn't imply, he said that causes Oklahoma cities and police being killed. They go and interview the heads of threat fusion centers. They go and interview former, top FBI agent who got out over it and works for the ACLU, exposing it. They went and interviewed, they went and showed they went to that congressman and showed him his own bill, and he denied he'd even introduced it and then later had to admit it. Or the FEMA camps in America that are already built, they're just saying fund them more. I mean, it's in the John Warner Defense Authorization Act. They've got a massive civil unrest roundup plan, and they're just getting everybody used to it. Hitler first put the Jews in the camps, then he put others. Now they're putting the mafia in camps, then it's others.
New year, new way to smoke, and it's Totally Wicked. Introducing Totally Wicked e-liquid electronic cigarettes, the highest quality e-cigarettes in the world. With Totally Wicked e-liquid cigarettes, there's no flame, no secondhand smoke, no carbon monoxide, no tar, no unsightly brown teeth or fingers, and no lingering smell. Totally Wicked e-liquid cigarettes have a battery charge that lasts up to 8 hours. Plus, with a Totally Wicked Tornado model, the average pack-a-day smoker is likely to save over $1,000 a year. The Totally Wicked Tornado provides a storm of vapor. See it at totallywicked-eliquid.com. That's totallywicked-eliquid.com. Or call 888-761-9425. Get a 15% discount with promo code GCNLive. Go to totallywicked-eliquid.com or call 888-761-9425. That's 888-761-9425. Or online at totallywicked-eliquid.com. Totally Wicked e-liquid cigarettes, the next generation of alternative smoking.
On the average, Americans work between 45 to 50 years, hoping to build up enough wealth to retire and live out their golden years. Unfortunately, with taxation, the rising cost of food, energy, housing, and medical, many retirees are forced to live below the poverty line. Is this a flaw free enterprise, or is our monetary unit we call the Federal Reserve Note forcing us into perpetual debt, ensuring inflation and higher taxes? These questions and more can be answered by reading G. Edward Griffin's book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Congressman Ron Paul states it's what every American needs to know about central bank power. A gripping adventure into the secret world of international banking cartel. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I will give a silver dollar from the early 1900s to anyone who purchases this book. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order a copy today. It's critical that the public be made aware of the system. Call and order your copy today at 1-800-686-2237. That's 1-800-686-2237.
Hundreds of nations have fallen to tyranny in the last century alone. This is our last chance to not relive history.
As they're finishing off this agenda, they'll be pulling the rug from underneath Americans at home.
I have tremendous influence on our president and Congress, and they really are calling the shots.
I think it's incumbent upon all of us as American citizens to pay attention.
Fall of the Republic identifies the enemies of our nation, the criminal offshore cartel.